thank you everyone for coming into this space, being with us this morning. I very much appreciate it. And so the chat, maybe, yes, some people saying they have to leave earlier. And just to say about these sessions, we've organized 8 of them on the Sundays in the morning, and UK morning, that is, and in the evening, UK evening, and they're a repeat, so that you know that in advance. So I'm planning to well, it's not going to be exactly the same, but it's going to be the same content, morning or evening. So you can choose, and it's up to you which one to choose, and whether you attend all of them or just one of them or 3 of them, that's also up to you. You don't need to ask whether that's okay. That's completely okay. And then also we have 1 hour in the week before Christmas, 8 o'clock UK time. Sorry, I just can't really remember what kind of time that is elsewhere in the world. But so that you know that about these particular sessions. And also in terms of the structure of this particular session, what I had in mind, I'll first introduce the practice, the Tonglen, of course, that's why we're here. And then after that, we'll do about 25 minutes of the practice, followed by a leg stretch. I'll say a few more words briefly, and then we'll do a short practice. And after that, we are having the opportunity to say a few words to each other in a smaller context about anything that we found in the practice, or anything that struck us, or how the process was. And then after that, we'll come back together in the larger group and see if there's any questions or remarks or anything that we found that we want to comment upon. So that's the structure of this session, and also of all the other sessions I'll be facilitating. So yes, my name is Jasje Bodie. Some of you I've met, and some of you I haven't met, but I'm really excited to see everyone. And particularly this topic and the title of the topic, Still Breathing in the World. I just have to take a breath there. Because yes, we're still here, aren't we? Still breathing in the world, and it looks like at this moment in the pandemic, it's very sort of unclear, isn't it, where it's going? Are we going to go down? Are we going to go up? Are we going to stay on the same level? And it's going to be different for each of us. And also, there's so much polarization going on as well. In my own personal spheres with my family, for instance, all sort of things about how we think about the pandemic. Let's not say the V word, how we think about that. And so there's such a lot of stuff going on, isn't there? We've got our health, we've got our financial circumstances. Well, I don't want to kind of talk us through the plug hole, but it's just saying there's a lot going on, isn't there? And there's a lot going on, and I think we need each other's support. So that's particularly why I'm very pleased to have this space together, just because I think we could see it as such. We're still breathing. We're still breathing all together, breathing in the world, and we can support each other with that. So let's just do a few minutes of that. So we don't need to change our breathing. We don't need to sit in a meditation posture even. But what I had in mind is just a few minutes of just knowing we're all here. We're all breathing. We're all breathing together at this particular point, but always, yeah. So just realizing that and sitting with that quietly whilst we're realizing that, yeah. However we're breathing, whatever's going on, we're still breathing. Okay, just going to say a few words about the practice. And so Tonglen, we're together here. It's a Tibetan word, Tonglen, meaning sending and receiving. And we're using the breath for that practice. And according to the stories, this is a practice that was actually invented by two women, two practitioners, female practitioners in the region of Kashmir in India. And they were called Niguma and Sukha Siddhi. And we don't know much about them as historical figures, except that Sukha Siddhi was a beer merchant, which I always like to think about. And somehow Niguma was related to the practitioner Naropa, who was quite a well-known practitioner. Anyway, that is about 1100 years ago. So it's come down the line, a Tibetan Buddhist line to the present day and to the present world. And myself, I was introduced to this practice by someone in the late 90s and didn't get on with it at all. So that's quite a while ago. And but it did really motivate me now to do the best I can do to introduce it in a way that you'll feel happy with it somehow, or that you can make up your mind whether it works or doesn't work for you. And then I kind of got hooked on the practice about 10 years ago. And it was actually, I was on a camping retreat, Buddha Field, some people know it. And actually one of the people leading the retreat. And I was in a very small tent and suffering from claustrophobia in that tent. And it was raining the whole month, but it was I had these dreams of claustrophobic dreams. But somehow I then read about the practice being described in terms of working with claustrophobia. So I started to do the practice then, and it just so much worked for me. So since then, I really started to use it, and I've been using it ever since. You often hear about this practice in the context of the Lojong, which is mind training, 7-point mind training. And that's another way of contextualizing the practice, mind training. And a lot of that is, it's such a beautiful, complicated practice. But the Tonglen practice, I think it works on many, many levels. But so it works on the level of developing compassion. And of course, when we're developing compassion, we have to start with ourselves. We are included in that. So it's about developing compassion, but it is also about developing wisdom, which is, I think, quite a fascinating process, how it works with the breath and seeing that what you're breathing out isn't solid, and seeing also how malleable, how incredible, pliable the mind actually is. That's one of the other. There's so many discoveries. I hope that you'll have your own discoveries whilst we are getting to know the practice. So that's what I had in mind to introduce different aspects of the practice over the course of the weeks. So this is a journey into the heart of Tonglen. At least that's what our beautiful title, I thought. Can't remember who made up that title. But so I just wanted to say now that in terms of a journey into the heart of Tonglen, we have to start where we are, don't we? We really do. We have to start where we are. And I don't know where that is for you, but we each obviously have our own conditions. We have our own mind states. the situations we're in, our personal challenges. So we might or might not at this point be calm, or we might be anxious, we might be stressed out, we might be distracted, we might be concentrated, we might feel receptive or very defended. So it just, yeah, that's where we are. That's where we are. And that's what we're working with. Whatever we find in our mind, in our body, wherever it is, that's our material. That's what we can work with. That's what we're going to work with. Yeah. So it doesn't matter whether you're distracted. Of course, it's unpleasant, but for the practice, it doesn't matter. Yeah. Okay. So another thing that, in terms of if we see this as a journey, I would really recommend to leave the literal mind behind on our journey. We could pick it up later if we want it back, but the literal mind isn't that useful if we carry that around. A literal mind being, we're going to breathe stuff in. Where I'm not going to literally breathe in the field out there, but I'm going to breathe in my thought of that field, the representation of that field in my mind. I just really wanted to make that clear. So it's quite a playful, creative practice, I think, but the literal mind isn't that useful in that whole process. Yeah, just saying that. Or maybe you could breathe in the literal mind. That would be wonderful, and breathe out the open, more creative mind. That would work. Yeah. So in terms of the how we're starting today, we're starting, I think, with the befriending the breath. There's so much to say, and I look at the time, and I shall make this short, but I'll say a few words in the practice as well, as I'm leading it, of course. But befriending the breath. Befriending the breath. Sometimes we're not easy with the breath, are we? Sometimes we are turning towards the breath and it just feels horrible, or it feels strained. Sometimes we turn to the breath and it's fine, it feels easy. So that's another thing we're just having to work with, turning towards the breath and becoming at ease with the breath. So with the practice, we're using the in-breath and the out-breath for receiving and for sending. So that's what we need to sort of be familiar and a bit at ease with the breath before we can actually start that process. But I'll guide us through that. So there's no set way, according to what I understand about it, for doing the practice in terms of a particular structure, but that is an essential component. We're using that breath, and the in-breath is for receiving, and the out-breath is for sending. So that's always the case if we're doing Tonglen. And also we're trying to start with some sort of openness. So we're going to start with a bit of just sitting before we turn towards the breath. And I think that's about it, really, for now. I think it might be time to do a bit of meditation. If there are any questions or any comments, anything you'd like to say, maybe just keep them for now. You might want to write them down, or just keep them for later. Just sort of park them in a little nice parking space for later. And then just inviting you to find a posture that works for you, you can sustain for the next 25 minutes. As I'm guiding us through the practice, just taking that time to settle in anytime it's needed, and just remembering that we're all starting in a different place, and this is how it is right now. These are the conditions that we are in, whether they're physical or mental, emotional. So this is all with us happening. So let's just first get used to quietly sitting, perhaps listening to some of the sounds around you, or all of them. So we're just starting the practice by just sitting quietly for a few minutes, nothing to do, nothing to accomplish, nothing to perfect or change even. Or just finding it as it is right now. Body on your seat, that contact with the ground, the air around you, touching the skin. Any emotional tone you might find. Any thoughts? Just sitting there with the experience as it is right now. Just sitting in the world. Nothing needs to happen right now. No need to put any pressure on yourself. No need to push anything or hold on to anything. And not even any need to completely understand what's going on. Then just open to whatever manifests in experience right now and now and now. And now inviting you to gently turn the attention to the body and the breath, just feeling that breath in the body right now. Just starting to a bit more clearly perceive the movement of the breath in the body, feeling it in the belly perhaps, or in the chest. And this might or might not feel easy, comfortable. If it doesn't feel comfortable, don't try to push yourself. But maybe it is just a matter of getting used to whatever we're finding in that breath, whatever emotion, thought content, body sensations we find when we explore that breath in the body. Allowing the breath to come and go. It doesn't have to be forced or changed. getting used to the breath. And if it feels too much, let's remember we can always come back to the ground. Gently turning towards the breath, receiving the breath, expelling the breath doing what it does best, allowing it to breathe. And then clearly noticing the in-breath and clearly noticing the out-breath. We're still feeling that breath in the body. And just taking our time to do that. Noticing the in-breath and noticing the out-breath. And turning towards the breath. If you've drifted off, getting a sense of the quality of the breath. And now inviting you to join in with me if you are ready to do so, by somehow imbuing that out breath with encouragement. We just start by, on the out breath, breathing out our encouragement for ourselves. Right now, the practice, any challenges. So breathing out encouragement. We don't need to breathe any ideas or thoughts or images in. We could just keep the in-breath free if that's what happens. Taking a break on the in-breath from the visualizing, but imbuing the out-breath with encouragement right now. A simple wish. Doesn't have to be big, it can be quite small. So you're breathing out encouragement, giving it to yourself at the moment. Encouragement, just something we can tune into. We don't need to create it even, just something that flows through. You might want to stay with the encouragement, but you might also want to, at this point, start breathing out anything else you might need. Maybe you need calm or concentration. Giving this to yourself on the out breath. Maybe you need the groundedness. Or maybe need some spaciousness. Giving yourself what you need on the out breath. If the practice starts to feel too heavy, you could always take a little break. But if it feels okay, just continue with that, imbuing the out breath with well-wishing and qualities that might help. Getting used to that rhythm of the breath. And now, if you want to join in with that, let's find in our experience something that we find a bit difficult, tense, overwhelming perhaps, or stressful. Still feeling that breath in the body. Perhaps also finding that whatever you found that was difficult, finding some sort of resonance in the body, a place in the body where you feel that whatever is difficult right now. Don't even need to identify it. We might just feel it directly. And then we're just breathing that in, turning towards it by breathing it in. And on the out breath, we keep going with the well-wishing. Keeping it light. Keep listening to our instincts. If it is too much, let's not push ourselves, but just let's take a little break in the practice if that's what we're feeling. But maybe it's okay to continue. Turning towards what feels difficult right now. Whether it's emotional, whether it's thoughts or situations. Feeling it in the body, breathing it in. And then on the out breath, just breathing out whatever might be helpful right now. Maybe it's spaciousness. Maybe it's light. Maybe it's some sort of warmth. Then you might also want to just stay with that, whatever you found that was difficult, a bit longer, sort of taking a break from doing anything special with the out breath. Just connecting to whatever is here right now. Connecting to what's here. Feeling it in the body, breathing it in. Receiving it. And perhaps breathing out any patience or acceptance. And you may or may not want to join in with the next step, which is just imagining anywhere else, anyone else in the world, experiencing a similar type of pain that you're experiencing right now, a similar challenge. And now let's just breathe all of that in. Just breathing in a sense of despair, perhaps, or impatience, whatever it is that's here for you right now. Imagining that's happening for other people out there as well. And breathing all of that in, breathing out your encouragement. Your support. Your solidarity, perhaps. And at any point, if it feels too much, too heavy, don't push yourself, just take a little break. Let's just keep going with that for a while longer. If the breath feels uncomfortable, just take a little break. You could also breathe it in, any discomfort. Breathing out a sense of ease. breathing in any challenges around the practice. Breathing out a sense of patience, perhaps. Imagining other people out there in similar situations, similar challenges, similar emotional pain, visible pain, perhaps. And then jointly breathing that in and breathing out, support, care, perhaps. Let's keep going with the breath, imbuing the breath for a while longer. You could at any point give yourself a break for any of the different parts of the practice. Follow your instinct, trusting you know what to do. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're just practicing some sort of test run, perhaps. Breathing in whatever is here right now that's difficult. Breathing out encouragement, friendly attention perhaps, or even interest. So let's just do another minute of that before we have a short period of just sitting. And then letting go, trying anything with the breath. Don't need to imbue it with anything. Just letting go of that Tonglen part of our meditation today. Gently letting go of the sending and receiving with the breath, just sensing the breath for a while longer in the body. Feeling the body. And then just keeping the posture. As we're sitting in the posture for a few more minutes. Just experiencing the mind, body. Just being with whatever is here. No need to change anything, work with anything. Just sitting in the world together. Wherever we are, however we are. So of course you could sit longer if that's what you want to do. Yeah, for myself and maybe for some others, let's just have a leg stretch. So 5-minute leg stretch, and so we come back 57 minutes past, okay? So let's try to be back at 57 minutes past after our leg stretch, yeah? I wanted to say a few words about, before we start on the next bit, the next practice bit, just something about what we're breathing in and what we're breathing out. in terms of the wisdom aspects of the practice, what we're breathing in isn't solid. I think we probably all know that, because when we're breathing, we're not sort of breathing anything solid in except air, don't we, or oxygen, whatever it is. We're not actually breathing in a chair or somebody else's pain literally. So in that sense, I think that is really important to think about it. So in a sense of how the mind seems to work, we're constructing all these ideas and images and thoughts, constructing a whole mind, a whole world in our mind that is actually completely built up of that kind of stuff, just the stuff that thoughts are made of. So it isn't anything solid that we're breathing in, and it isn't anything solid that we're breathing out. But yet it doesn't mean it's nothing. We're just relating to what we're experiencing, breathing that in and breathing out our intentions somehow in the receiving. We're also sort of noticing this isn't solid, this isn't permanent. So just thinking or just realizing that about our minds is something that becomes quite clear, I think, when we're doing the practice. As we're doing the practice, that there's nothing solid in the mind, and there's nothing permanent in the mind either. So somehow through doing the practice, we are connecting to these wisdom aspects. Just having a brief look in the chat just to. Okay. So just talking about that aspect of the practice of that it is you're relating to the mind, relating to the thoughts, emotions, whatever it is that you're finding in your experience. And it seems like, that's my theory of it, just like I know that this wall is solid, it doesn't, somehow I think by process of analogy, we just seem to think that what we're thinking about is also solid. Someone in the chat saying that they prefer soft. Well, that is lovely to hear. But that is, I think, just completely demonstrates this whole wisdom aspect, doesn't it? It demonstrates that wisdom aspect of things are by nature empty of own being, you could say. But for some my voice is too soft, for some it might be too loud, so there is no intrinsic truth in there at all. You see what I mean? It's, in that sense, it's just empty. So that is, you could just say that in terms of what's going on in the mind, what's coming up in the mind, it's just constantly shifting and changing, constantly shape-shifting. And so in that sense, it's beautiful that we can work with that, because we are working with our intention and we are working with training the mind. So we're training the mind, accepting and opening and turning towards. And the only way we can get through pain is somehow managing to find our way through it. It's not going to go away. We turn our back towards it. So we're turning towards it gently and discovering it's just of that nature of thought. It's just, in that sense, it's not solid. It isn't solid in the way we thought it was solid. So we're just breathing that in and we're breathing out whatever is helpful. We could do that a bit like we're magicians. So I'd like to also just stress that aspect of the practice, that we can be creative, and we are kind of just juggling and working with reality, trying to pattern it out, trying to just send our well-wishing, add our well-wishing to what's out there, and knowing that is going to have an effect. Anyway, I could say a lot more and a bit less, but just knowing that whole that our thoughts aren't solid, I think that's going to be helpful. If we really deeply realize that, I'm certainly hoping that's going to be helpful. So that is what we are facing in the practice. Things aren't solid, things change constantly. So that's the bit I wanted to say before we do another practice. The other practice is going to be slightly shorter because of my timings. And then we'll have some interaction in smaller groups and some interaction in the larger group. But I wanted to finish my spiel before the practice with a short poem by Sukha Siddhi, one of these women who have apparently started this practice. So the Song of Sukha Siddhi. The sky is empty and non-conceptual. Cut the root of this conceptual mind. Cut the root and relax. That's the Song of Sukha Siddhi. The sky is empty and non-conceptual. Cut the root of this conceptual mind. Cut the root and relax. That's Sukha Siddhi for you. Okay, so let's settle back into our posture. Again, getting used to that, just giving ourselves time to make that transition. There's no rush. Just finding the posture. Keeping it upright if we can. Don't need to force ourselves at all. So anytime you feel that you're trying to squeeze or push yourself to do anything, just maybe notice that and relax, rest. Going into the mode of meditation, which is very much more about not doing and just being. A different sort of way of being. Turning towards our experience at this moment. And just sitting quietly in the posture. Experiencing whatever is here. Wherever it is. We can always, in the practice, come back to this place of just sitting, just being. Now finding perhaps in your experience anything that feels difficult, tense, and just breathing that in. And breathing out anything that might be helpful, supportive. anything around practice, any discomfort with the breath in the body, any thoughts, we can just breathe them in and breathe out, maybe confidence or trust. So we're breathing in what's alive, what's here, feeling it in the body, breathing it in, breathing out, what's helpful, supportive. Breathing out ease. Breathing out spaciousness, stability. All these qualities are here as a potential for us to touch. Breathing in any tension, irritation. Breathing out ease. And at any moment taking a break in the practice. If it's too much, feels too heavy, too tense, too difficult, but maybe it is just completely okay. I could just continue with the breathing, imbuing it, turning towards what's difficult, letting go. Breathing out what's helpful, supportive. And if you do want to now, also open out to anyone else out there who might experience a similar type of pain or tension. Also breathing that in. And on the out breath, sending ourselves and all of the others our support and care, our warmth, our attention, our curiosity. At any time we want to shift into ourselves again, that's completely fine. Just follow your instincts. might just want to breathe in any lack of confidence, any sense of being ill at ease, any doubt even. You could just breathe it in, feeling it in the body, breathing out your support with whatever that was. Folding in any discomfort around the practice into the practice. Breathing out any encouragement. And this is a shorter practice, so just preparing ourselves to let go of that, imbuing the breath, the sending and the receiving, and just feeling the breath as it is right now. And then keeping the posture for a while longer. Just sitting with each other in the world, resting. Nothing to perfect or change. All exactly right. Perfect already. And then preparing to come to the end of the meditation. Okay. Next time I'll try to time the sessions so I can do a longer second meditation of similar length as the first one. Didn't quite work out today, so we were just practicing, trying it out, and I'm going to open some breakout groups. Actually, I put everyone in it, but it's up to you, of course, if you want to join in. But there is an opportunity to somehow maybe voice gently something about that process, something about how it was for you to do the practice, and gently witnessing each other in that. So we're not looking for advising each other, but it is just something about an exchange of how was that for you to do this. So we're going to do that only 6 minutes, not very long, and I've got 3 to 4 people in a room, and it might be I need to tweak it a bit after you're in the room, but hopefully it's going to be okay. Do feel free to do whatever you want with that. You don't have to speak, don't have to exchange, but just in terms, you could always witness, but that's the idea. So I'm going to open the rooms now. I'll let you know when half of the time has passed, and then see you back in the last minutes before the half hour, just to see if there's anything anyone wants to say, or anything that Zach wants to say, or anything that we want to say. So without further ado, see you soon. And that's everyone coming back now. Good, everyone. Yep. There you are. There is a question in the chat about that quote, and I'm putting it in the chat now. So I've just copy and paste so you can see that there. You can always save the chat. And also apologies, I saw that there is one group with 2, or 2 groups with 2, and one with 5, because there's 2 people in one screen. So I'll just try to be a bit more on the ball next time with all of that. But only a few minutes left, I'm afraid, and just see if there's anything anyone wants to say or ask at this stage. If you want to okay, Martin is asking about good books or resources. I really like Pema Chodron. She does have a lot of teachings and books about Tonglen. It's an important part of her practice. I can see if I can find where I got the quote from. Okay, Sharon's saying it wasn't a problem. That's great. Okay, anyone who wants to say anything whilst I'm looking in my quotes to see if I can find the book? Anyone can raise their hand. Yes, yeah, that's great. So there is also a book, I can't remember which one it is, by Pema Chodron, that actually has a CD. I used to have a CD with it, where you can actually listen to her. Guiding it through as well, which might be useful. Let me just see if I can. Oh yes, so another book that you might, that's where my quote is from, is from Love on Every Breath. So that's Love on Every Breath, a book by Lama Palden Drolma. So that's another book that you might want to Love on Every Breath. Love on Every Breath, should be able to remember that. Lama Palden Drolma. Okay, anyone else? We just got 1 minute, but there might be someone. I'll make sure that we have a bit more time next time. Yes, how to continue during the week. Thank you for that question, Edith. What I would say, if you don't force yourself, it's fine if you just want to do it once a week. But if you do want to continue, maybe you could just do some of it, maybe do 10 minutes of it with your normal meditation. Or if you just want to feel like you have enough confidence, just in terms of the practice, do a bit of just sitting, do some working with the breath and the Tonglen, and then do another just sitting at the end. So it's sort of wedged in between these 2 periods of just sitting, and just don't force yourself. And if you do get exhausted, that means you've been forcing yourself. So maybe stop before you reach that particular point. Anything else in the chat? Thank you, that's great. Okay. So that is it, I think, for now. I shall try to, I was kind of having it in my mind that I was going to do 2 hours, which I usually do, but of course it's only the 1.5 hours which finishes now. So For next time, I'll be a bit better with the timings. And thank you so much for joining in. I very much enjoyed it. And
Have a good day.
Thanks,
See you
everyone.
later.
Bye.
Bye bye. Bye. Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you.